Autism isn't caused by bad parenting. It's not a discipline problem. And no, you can't always see it. If you've ever felt the pressure to defend your child, explain a meltdown, or prove that autism is real just because someone said, they seem fine to me, this episode is for you. Today, we're breaking down what autism actually is, and I'm giving you simple, confident ways to explain it without apologizing, over explaining, or shrinking. Welcome to the Autism Diagnosis to Confident Mom podcast with Kira from Kira Brown Coaching. I'm a mom of neurospicy kids and a life coach. I'm here to share real tips and support to help you feel confident as a parent. Hi, for those of you that don't know, I'm a ranching wife, and part of the ranching life is branding season. Branding is like gathering all the baby calves and giving them a well child check. And it can take a lot of work to get that done. And so your neighbors will help you, and then you go help your neighbors, and it's kind of a family event. Families will come. And so I was talking to a lady that I was friends with at this branding, and we were talking about some of the struggles I'm having with my autistic son. And she made a comment that he was not autistic, that he's just a normal little boy, and that she doesn't believe in autism. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, like a punch in the gut, made me sick to my stomach, made me feel very invalidated. And I didn't know how to handle that. We were pretty new on our journey of autism, and I had never had anybody tell me they didn't believe me. And so I'm going to share today with you 3 things I wish I'd had known back then that I know now. The first thing I want to share with you is that those situations don't feel bad because I'm a bad person. They feel bad because they're invalidating. They feel bad because I'm tired of advocating for my son, for always having to educate other people. They feel bad because the stereotypes of autism are outdated. It feels bad because people choose to see behavior instead of neurology. It feels bad because it feels like you're on trial. Maybe you just failed that trial. But just remember this, you are not a bad human when those things feel bad. The second thing that I learned since then is a 3-step framework to help me explain what autism is. I'm going to give you a definition, and that's the first step, is we're just going to explain. So autism is a neurological difference that affects my child's communication, sensory, and social. That's all you have to say. Let's say that again. A neurological difference that affects my child's communication skills, sensory needs, and social interactions. I'm going to step into that a little bit deeper here for the sake of the podcast so that we understand more. But that's all you have to say to them. You do not have to feel the need to go on further. But communication might mean the tone of voice that's used. That might mean they misunderstand somebody else's tone of voice. It might mean they use an inappropriate tone of voice. It might mean they don't understand sarcasm or when is the proper time to use sarcasm. It might mean that they don't understand expectations, among many other things. It might mean they're not verbal. They're nonverbal. It might mean that their verbal skills go away when they're overwhelmed. Communication. It can cover a lot of different things, but those are some. Sensory can mean that they are more sensitive to things like sounds, light, textures. Social interactions means that it isn't automatic to them to read a room. They have to really think about and work on reading a room. And then they still might not read it correctly. Okay, so the first step of our framework is to explain. The second one is to normalize. It might be saying something like, my child is different, not broken. Or autism isn't caused by bad parenting. Or autism can't be disciplined away. Autism isn't something they grow out of. Autism is not always visible. It might be something like that you say. I like to think about autism as lights. And this goes back to they're different, not broken. So let's think about a lamp. I have a lamp on my nightstand. It's a pretty dim light. It's kind of soothing and calming. I turn it on as I'm getting ready for bed to help me wind down. Now, in my garage, and the lamp, let's go here. The lamp by my bed is probably like a 40-watt lamp. And then it has a lampshade on top of it, so it's even dimmer, right? Then we go out to my garage, and my husband just installed new 3,000-watt light bulbs. And it's very bright so that he can see when he's working on a project in the garage, right? Both of those lights light up the room, but they light up the room in a different way. I really don't want the garage light bulb in my bedroom, but he probably really doesn't want my lamp in the garage. They have their places. They have different settings that they work best in, but neither one of them is broken. They are just different. So that is 2 we're going to normalize. And 3, the third step to this framework, we have explain, normalize. Now we're going to reframe. That might be something like, autism looks like defiance, but it's actually overwhelm. Or you might discuss the difference between a meltdown and a tantrum. You may think this is a tantrum that he's choosing to throw to get his way, but really it's an autistic meltdown. This is a symptom of nervous system overload. What looks like defiance is actually his brain in fight mode because he can't handle the surroundings that he's in. Okay, so we're going to explain, normalize, and reframe. That's the second thing that I learned. Here are some quick examples of how you might say these things, okay? So autism is a neurological difference. It affects their communication, sensory, and social interactions. And then you might add, autism doesn't always look obvious. It mostly affects how their brain processes information. Or you might add, when they shut down, it's usually overload, not refusal. Or their brain is wired differently. Some things feel bigger or louder to them. That's all you have to say. You don't have to go on and give a medical lecture, which is number 3. You don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe them medical lectures. You don't owe them your child's history, and you don't owe them proof that your child is autistic or has autism. You get to choose whom you want to educate, who you want to set boundaries with, and who you just want to disengage with. So going back to the story at the beginning of the lady at the branding, I would choose to disengage. In fact, I have. We've had more conversations. It's gone the same way in future years, right? And it's gone the same way. So I just disengage. I come up with an excuse to leave the conversation. Oh, but looks like I'm needed over here. I better go run do this. We'll talk to you later. I disengage. It is not a weakness, it is a strength to disengage intentionally. I might choose to educate. So my son is having a hard time at his after school program. He spends 1 hour there every day after school waiting for his bus ride home after school, and we're having problems. And the more I look into it, the more it seems that the instructors there do not understand autism. So in this situation, I'm going to choose to educate. One way that might be helpful to educate is to type up what you want them to learn so that they can refer back to it, so that you can get it said how you want to say it. But educate those that need to be educated in your child's life. And the third option is to set a boundary. This might be, for example, we have a set of grandparents that don't handle dysregulation very well. They think it's a behavior problem. They choose to not believe that it is overwhelm. And so when they start parenting my child who is having an autistic meltdown or shutdown, then we leave. That's the boundary I set. When you start parenting them or disciplining them for a meltdown, then we will leave. That's a boundary that I have set. And just as a final reminder, I want you to remember that it's not your responsibility to fix everyone else's understanding of autism. It's your responsibility to support your child. So remember, it doesn't feel bad because you're a bad person. Remember our 3 framework. We're going to explain, normalize, and reframe. And third, you don't owe it to everybody to educate them. You get to decide what you want to do. And it's okay, no matter what choice you make. You're doing better than you think you are, Mama. Keep up the good work. Thanks so much for listening to Autism Diagnosis to Confident Mom. If this episode helped you feel a little more seen or supported, please take a moment to like, follow, or subscribe to the podcast. And if you know another parent who needs to hear this, share it with them too. We're all in this together. You're doing better than you think, Mama. You've got this.